welcome back to Grow Your Business with the VA Summit. We have Carrie Sheridan with us today, yay! And now we're going to speak about Pinterest, my favorite. I have somebody here who's going to break Pinterest down for us. It's not just for recipes and for your nails, because that's all I use it for. So I'm here to learn. We're all here to learn what Pinterest is going to be, what Pinterest can be used for to maximize your business. So thank you, Carrie, so much for joining me today.
Yay! Thank you for having me.
Yay. So can you tell everybody about yourself and your business?
Sure. I have been in business about 3 years. I'm a social media strategist specializing in Pinterest. I've been niching down into Pinterest in the last probably 6 months. I've always used it since I've started my business. But really in the last 6 months, that's been my focus with helping people. Usually I work with women entrepreneurs, and like you said, you know, it's educating, and people, you know, you read on the internet, they know that you can use it for Pinterest, but people can't get their heads around, how do I move from recipes and nails to using this for my business? And so that's what I've been focusing on. And again, my business, I've been in 3 years, and it's just been a transition. And I think Pinterest is just an overlooked opportunity that they don't, people they don't know how to use it. Unlike Facebook and Instagram, you know what that is, and so it's just, it's one of those platforms that I think you need to be on, especially like as a busy mom. With kids, it's fairly passive. And I say fairly passive because you always see that everywhere. Oh, I made this much money, or I grew this many followers without doing anything. And so, nothing is 100% passive, but I think in comparison, Pinterest can be passive. And so I think that helps when we're busy to have something working in the background for us that's building our business.
Oh, that's great. So, as you know, I'm new to Pinterest. Well, as it new, I don't use Pinterest to its full potential. I just use it for 2 things only, but I know more can be used for it. So can you please explain, why is Pinterest so big? Why is it just such a powerful place? Okay, I'm going to go to Pinterest.
Well, I'm going to read you a couple of stats, and especially being a woman, and like my ideal client are women entrepreneurs. And so in 81% of the Pinterest users are female. There's your audience. 87% of Pinterest users have made a purchase because of something that they've seen and researched on Pinterest. And Pinterest has 250 million users, monthly users. And then the average time spent on Pinterest, and I'm sure you know this, because you get sucked down that rabbit hole, is 14 and a half minutes. And then the demographic of the women, they have money to spend. And so comparing it to Instagram and Facebook, you're not typically going there to buy. And so with Pinterest, people are using it as a research tool. You can purchase, there's buyable pins. You can make purchases off of Pinterest, and people are spending their time there. And so, from an entrepreneurial perspective, you want to be there because that audience is already primed to buy, and that's isn't that the best audience?
Yeah,
really. So
because you do get stuck on there, you really do. You get stuck on there. Let me look at this one, and you see something else. You're like, wow, let me look at this one. So you just keep going, and then to see it all together, it's like, and you can buy it. You're right. It is so much easier.
Exactly.
So, what else can Pinterest be used for besides recipes? I know some people put blogs up there. So what else can it be used for?
Well, Pinterest is, it's a couple things. One, it's a traffic driver. So if you are a blogger or a YouTuber and you want to drive traffic to your website, you're going to put your blog posts up, or your YouTube, like pins to your YouTube videos, or a sales page, wherever you have a URL, if you have digital products or courses, any place you have a URL that you can drive traffic to. So that in turn then helps you make sales. You can do affiliate marketing through Pinterest as well. And so, what Pinterest, I always say it's a traffic driver, but the other part of the piece is sort of the funnel. It's the sales
Right.
journey that you're taking people down. And so it's like, if you're using Pinterest Smart and driving them to your website or a sales page, you know, you need a call to action. What do you want to do? From a service provider standpoint, do you want to get more leads? Do you want to grow your email list? Or you have a digital product to sell, or, you know, they have Shopify integrates, and a couple other platforms. So then, you know, if you're in the product, if you're actually selling a physical product, you can sell that as well on Pinterest. So, you know, it can be used almost for any
There's so much you could do with
business. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. and then too, the other benefit is the lifespan of a pin. A pin has a lifespan of 3.5 months, and that's just one pin if I pinned it one time. Mm-hmm. As part of your process, you are going to continue to repin it, and so each pin has a 3.5 month life cycle versus, you know, you put something on Pinterest or Instagram and it gets shoved down a feed pretty quickly. So
yeah, for Instagram and Facebook, it just goes.
Yeah,
if somebody doesn't catch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, we know only a small percentage of people see, you know, your posts, and with algorithm changes, you're kind of at the will of Facebook.
Yeah.
What algorithm change are they making now? And so there's different things that Pinterest versus Facebook, for example, they don't penalize you for using a different scheduler, because you need a scheduler. We'll get to that, I know.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
that. But, okay.
Wow. So what is your process? So if I hired you, can you pin stuff for me? I don't have content or anything. I wouldn't know what to do. What is your whole process of hiring you?
First, well, the prerequisite for Pinterest is you need content. And so I do a discovery call with the client and find out, you know, what's your website? What kind of content do you have? And so sometimes I have clients that have a ton of content that's just not being used on Pinterest. And so I help create pins and graphics, you know, because they, you know, like all the social media platforms, they like their specific size and look and specifications. So I help clients do that. Or if I have, you know, like someone brand new and they're kind of in the beginning stages of business, and it's like, well, I've heard Pinterest is good, but I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, you know, you need content. So kind of as the guide, I kind of help them, like, okay, do you blog? Do you YouTube? Do you have a podcast? You know, if you just starting and you have an opt-in, I mean, you don't need a ton of content, but you need things to pin. And so if you have an opt-in, a sales page you want to go to, you know, it's helping them create pins and have that mindset of how Pinterest differs from the other social medias, so that you can, you know, guide them in the right way. So then I help them with that. And then, like you said, then I do the actual pinning. I look at their funnel. Do they have a funnel? You know, am I just driving them to your website, but then what happens? And so it's helping put those pieces into place to maximize the drive or the traffic, because through Google Analytics and through Pinterest, you can get the analytics, but you have to look at them and see, you know, what pins are performing well. And do you have an animal running across?
My cats.
Oh.
My cat decided I want to say hi. And she just keeps the camera like this.
Oh, is that what she did? Oh my God, she's so cute. Yeah, animals are unpredictable.
Yes, they are.
So that's how I help a client. You know, you kind of, a lot of the work is up front, and then after that, it's just maintenance. It's creating pins for new blog posts or new YouTube videos. If you have a new opt-in, that type of thing. And then I go in and, like I was talking about, a scheduler, I will go in and fill in the pin schedule I call that maintenance pinning, where you want to continue keeping your pins moving.
So you said you need to use a scheduler. So what kind of scheduler do you use? What kind of system is that?
I use a program called Tailwind. There are a couple others that are approved, but I started with Tailwind, and I just think it has the best analytics, because you need to look at that stuff to make sure that your pins are performing well, what works, what doesn't. And so Tailwind, it has a queue, it has a smart scheduler, so that's ideal, because it's like, if I'm going to pin 10 or 20, 30 pins a day, I want my pins to be out in front of my ideal client when they're on Pinterest. And so it uses algorithms in the background and creates these smart schedulers, smart like time slots for you. And then you go in and fill in the time slots with pins, and you are sharing your pins as well as other people's pins that, you're doing a similar content share like you do on Facebook, because it's not all about me, and look at what I have. I mean, that is a strategy. I mean, if you have a ton of content and you can pin 100% of the time, I mean, that is possible. I'm not saying that it's not, but most of the time you're sharing, because you have multiple boards that, if someone comes to your account, it's the way to suck you in. It's like, oh, yes. Well, here, not only does she have this, she's got this, this, and this, and then she's got this board, and, the kind of hold you onto your account as long as possible. And so Tailwind helps with the pinning process, as far as I was saying, like semi-passive, because you do have to keep your queue filled. And so that literally takes me an hour a week. You can do it.
Oh, okay.
You can pin it. You can pin 30 days in advance if you want. I like to do it a week to 2 weeks in advance, and it takes me about an hour a week. So like 5 hours total. I do the pinning, and then like maybe an hour at the end of the month to look at pins, what's performed well, making new pins, thing like that. So I mean, it happens. You pin it. There's no responding back. Like Facebook and Instagram, there the importance is engagement. You want to engage with people, and so Pinterest, you don't really have that engagement piece from a texting back and forth kind of situation. Yeah. So that's originally why I got started, because I'm a homeschooler and a busy mom and running my business, and so it's like you don't always have time to promptly respond to Facebook and Instagram, whereas Pinterest, it's happening regardless of what.
Yeah, it's there, but you don't need to communicate back and forth with anybody.
Exactly. Yep.
So you say, like, how do you know what time to pin stuff? Like, when is the best hours or pin, or does that system tell you when?
The system tells you when. Because the majority of the users are still in the U.S. Mm-hmm. I find that it will tell you like certain days of the week. Usually weekends are more popular. Evenings are more popular, probably because, we're done with kids stuff and it's like time to do our own thing. And so that's where it comes in handy, because it's like, it could be 12 o'clock midnight and someone's looking at my pins, but I've been asleep for 2 hours. I'm on the East Coast, you're on the West Coast. And, and so that's all algorithm based.
Okay.
And so, that's the value. That's one of the values of having Tailwind.
That's great that program does that for you. It helps you because it did all the research for you already.
Yeah, it's similar to Facebook when you go into the insights, and it tells you when people are looking, your most popular posts, how many people are viewing, when are they viewing, and then it's a very similar process.
That's interesting. So to boost traffic, to boost people to look at your pins, what do you do? What's your process to boost the traffic to a pin?
Well, there's a couple of things through Pinterest has a lot of articles, and so they tell you like how to make an optimum pin. What do people look for? People usually click on pins that don't have faces and have warm colors. And so, and that's just generally, they look at a broad base of pins, but it's a lot of A/B testing of your own products, because also too, keywords and hashtags are important as well, because it is a search engine. So it's, trying to find, like, whatever my subject is, I'm going to find the keywords. And so when someone types in a keyword, then they're going to find my pins. My pins should pop up. And so Pinterest has lots of these helper things to help us. It's just knowing what to do to make your pins be found, as well as then they have promoted pins, which is similar to Facebook ads. And so that's like the next step. If you want to really promote a specific pin, maybe grow your email list or whatever, then you can do a promoted pins campaign. And that will boost a specific pin. But again, it goes back to testing. You can make, and there's no rules either, which is nice with Pinterest. You don't have to just make one pin for one blog post. Pinterest likes new pins, and you don't know what's going to resonate with your audience. So what I do too is, you can minimum, I say, create at least 3 pins per blog post, and you can use different colors, different images. And that's what I meant by going back and looking at your analytics, is you'll see your most popular pins. It could be either it has a certain look, it's a certain topic. Like if you blog about 3 or 4 different things, well, are your highest pins consistently about one topic? Well, use that information to your advantage and create more pins that have that look, or whatever that topic is. Pin more of that, write more of that, because that's what your audience likes. And so it's all these things that Pinterest helps tell you. It's just, you have to know what to look for to help yourself, because you will read how I made my pin go viral. Well, you can't really make a pin go viral. You can't force it, but you learn what makes it popular. And then the other thing too is, if you pin something today, doesn't mean in 3 months it won't go viral. So it's that's always exciting.
Have you ever had a pin that go viral?
Me personally, I wouldn't say viral. I mean, that's sort of a loose term. Kind of like you call things natural, So, but I mean, I've had some really high performing pins. I've had clients that have had really high performing pins that are just consistent. So, I mean, I don't know that, viral, I wouldn't say viral, but, pretty high performing pins. Absolutely. And it's a lot of fun. Because you just keep pinning it. I mean, there's, again, that's the nice thing about Pinterest. You can pin it and pin it again. And if it's working, you keep repinning.
So how do people say they make all this money off of Pinterest? Like, as some people like bloggers, I made all this so such money off of Pinterest. I did this off of Pinterest. Do you get paid per pin, or how does that part work? Because I do see posts where people say they made so much money just off of Pinterest.
Well, it can be a couple of different things. It's either, to say you've made it on Pinterest, I think they mean using Pinterest as that vehicle.
Okay.
You can make money, obviously, through affiliate sales, affiliate marketing. You can also, like I said, you can sell products. So, to say you made it on Pinterest would be, okay, I'm selling products, physical products, because there's a lot of Etsy shops and things. So then you could say, okay, I made money on Pinterest, but it's really Etsy. It's just the Pinterest was the driver.
Gotcha. It's the funnel. It's the funnel.
Right. Or, okay, I sold a gazillion, of my digital product or my course. And it's like, the course made money and you made money off the course, but it was advertised by Pinterest. So, there's a couple different avenues that they can say I made money on Pinterest. I'd say it's using Pinterest.
Got it. Because Pinterest gets you there, but it takes you to your site. Like you said, it's a funnel.
It's a
funnel. So have you, how fast are some of your pins increase? Like if you post today, do you see like a big change overnight, or does it take like a month or two?
Pinterest is a long game. I mean, you know, it's, I always say like 30 to 60 days at least, because it is algorithm based. When you're creating the pins with the titles, and as the person who's pinning it, I'm pinning it strategically. You know, like if I had a pin for world's best pancakes, Pinterest has to learn that that's a pin about pancakes, and they're going to learn that it's about pancakes because I've hashtagged it, I've keyworded it, I've pinned it to recipe boards. If I create a pin about pancakes and I start pinning it to just random boards, and then I don't have it keyworded very well. If I just say, oh, you know, visit my website to get some really cool breakfast recipes, that's sort of doing you a disservice versus world's best blueberry pancakes in 5 minutes flat, you know, and then I've hashtagged it pancakes and recipes or whatever. And so it's us as the end user, one, that helps, and then it's Pinterest that has to learn what that pin is about, and it's us that's helping Pinterest learn. So it can either learn really fast because I put it on a pancake board, or it's going to take longer because it has to sift through recipes, and then all of a sudden people are picking up the pin and pinning it to their pancake board, for example. And so, I mean, you know, when you see pins, now they have a recommended. They have like, if you like this, check this out. And so that's the learning process that Pinterest does in the background. So very rarely is it gonna like overnight like skyrocket, because you know, Pinterest is slower. Even like comparing it to Facebook ads. Facebook ads, you turn them on and you turn them off, and you can turn them on for 3 days and get a big spike in traffic. Whereas like a promoted pin campaign, it's recommended to at least run it for a week because the analytics are slower to accumulate. So it's a long game, and I do tell clients that because it's not an overnight. It's a long-term strategy, really.
Which makes sense.
So you have to, I mean, I say minimum you have to be on the platform consistently pinning at least 6 months to really get good data, and, you know, really being able to let Pinterest do its thing by learning what you're putting out there.
That's good. That's great. Because so it's basically, you need to have the right words. Because it's true, when I type in something, it's whatever is in my word I use, it pops up. So you need the right hashtags. I see what you mean. You need the right wording.
Right. Exactly. And Pinterest does make it easy for you. They give it to you. You know, there's the search bar, and you type in something, and then if you've ever noticed, you start typing in and something pops up, like the rest of the phrase, because you can search on a phrase, you can search on a keyword, and then you hit enter, and then there's little tiles underneath, and you know, you may not notice, like, well, what are those tiles for? But it may be pancakes, and then it'll have blueberry, gluten-free, and so it's telling you from left to right what is the most searched upon. So I mean, it's very targeted, and it's just looking at the right thing, and it's not hard. It's just knowing what to look for, and what you know, why are those tiles popping up? As someone who just uses it for recipes, you might think, oh, okay, well, I'll just click on it and see what happens.
Right.
But you don't really know the intent of why it was there, why Pinterest put it there. And it's like, once you know, you're like, oh, okay, you know, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, next. And I go to the next picture. And like, I'm there for 15 minutes, but I catch myself for half an hour to an hour sometimes.
Oh, I know it.
It's a little addicting.
Yes.
So have you ever had a client that wasn't satisfied with the results? Because you said this is a long game, and a lot of people or business owners, they want things quick. But Pinterest is not quick. It's like you said, it's a long game. Have you ever had a client that wasn't satisfied with the results?
I have, and and they didn't like look at like, oh my God, I didn't do my job well, which thankfully, you know, I mean, I feel bad because it's like, of course I want my clients' Pinterest to do well and really drive traffic. But I'm only kind of holding one piece of the puzzle. And I mean, I look at myself as the guide, because not only am I pinning for you, but I'm also telling you like, well, are you looking in your Google Analytics? You know, because a lot of my clients are bloggers, and so it's like, are you looking to see what performs well? And so kind of how I mentioned the funnel, it's like if I am driving traffic to your sales page, but maybe your sales page isn't optimized, it's like, well, I'm using Pinterest to grow my email list and my email list isn't growing. Well, Pinterest is one piece of the puzzle. And so, you know, I look at it as my job to help kind of, because it's just testing. It's like, okay, is it Pinterest? Is it your sales page? You know, you can kind of see where in the funnel things are breaking down. And then two, Pinterest is seasonal.
Right.
And so, you know, a lot of these things people don't take into consideration, like, you know, summertime, it takes a lull. Well, why? Because all of us women have kids out of school and we're not looking at Pinterest, right?
Exactly.
And so, I mean, there are, you know, cyclical things. And so, you know, I had one client who wasn't happy and, you know, I'm like, well, I've done everything that I can do. And she's like, right. And you can do all the right things. And, you know, there's algorithm changes there, you know, there's other factors beyond what I can control. And so it's just kind of maybe stepping back and like re-looking at what worked, what didn't. And, you know, and that's all I can do.
Yeah, you did your part.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, of course I want, you know, my client to, you know, whatever their intent is, whatever their strategy is. And I mean, and I have, you know, it's like we do look at it and I can kind of adjust strategies and recommend things. And, you know, if they're up for it, great. If they're not, okay. And you're getting, you know, if you look at your Google Analytics and you're also on Facebook and Instagram and, you know, for example, if Instagram is working for you, well, then maybe focus more on Instagram. I mean, you know,
you have to find the right platform that fits you.
Right, wherever your ideal client is. You know, so even though I think Pinterest is good for the majority of businesses, it is, you know, niche specific. So maybe it's not right for your specific niche, or, you know, there's just more users that are currently seeing Instagram right now. So
that's true. So in conclusion, with everybody, can you just explain what hiring a Pinterest manager would do for you? Because if that's the direction you want to go, just to explain everybody what a Pinterest manager could do for you and then what's needed. Because like for me, I really don't have content. So I know Pinterest would not help me right now. I know because I don't have a lot of content, but you said, you know, content is needed. So to everybody, how should they know when to go to Pinterest? When is it good for them?
Well, I mean, the thing with, let me answer the content question first, and then I'll go to the Pinterest manager. With content, the good thing is you don't need a ton of content because like I said, sort of the way around that is like if you have an opt-in, for example, that you want to start advertising, create 10 different pins. That's your content. All of a sudden your one opt-in has 10 different pins going, and then you keep repinning that. And so I think, I mean, if you have the time as the business owner to do that for yourself initially, because of course, everyone has a different budget, but you know, as a Pinterest manager, I can help with that, but it gets harder to pin when you don't have a lot of content. But if you have the budget where someone can create that for you and say, okay, well, let's say I'm not creative at all. It's like, well, I can think of 2 pins. Well, then hire a manager to help you create 8 more. And so Pinterest managers can help you with just that piece. Like if you need help, because I recommend creating templates that you just reuse continually. So when a new blog post comes up, or a new YouTube video or whatever, you just go in, and if you have like 10 templates, go in, change the colors, change the images, the title on it can have, like, if there's different keywords, because Pinterest doesn't only search the pin description, it searches on the words on your pin. So you could play with the titles.
Okay.
And so do different things like that. So you can do a lot even with a little bit of content.
Okay.
So I would say you start smaller, like, okay, pin like 10 pins a day, versus if you have a lot of content, you can go up to like 30, 40 pins a day. So I mean, it could be done, because you can, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have like 10 blog posts. You can have like 3 blog posts, but you have a sales page because you have an opt-in, or you have a little, you have like your first product. So there are things that you can make pins for that isn't a blog post. And so, there are different things that you can make pins for without having a lot of blog posts. And so that's if I think you can do that if you have, like, let's say Instagram is performing for you well. Concentrate on Instagram, but if you have the time and you know that your audience is on Pinterest because you've researched and seen, other, competitors are on Pinterest, then add that in. And if you have the time, great, and you understand it, great. If not, you can definitely hire a Pinterest manager. I think you definitely need a Pinterest manager as you're on more platforms, because I mean, especially when you're starting out, you can't be on everything.
No.
So you're either going to hire it out, or I suggest not doing it. Just put your focus on one platform, because a lot of times starting out, you may or may not have the budget to hire something out right away. So concentrate on one platform, get that one going, get your workflow going, then add another. And so because Pinterest is a little bit more involved graphics wise versus, Instagram, you just make one graphic, it could just be a picture and you're done. Whereas, the Pinterest, you may want to do up to like 10 different images. That will take time. And then to answer your question about a Pinterest manager, I see that there's kind of 2 different people that work with Pinterest. There's sort of the Pinterest manager. So you have to kind of do your research on who you're talking to when you talk to them, because there are people who just like literally fill your tailwind. And that's about the extent of it. You have to kind of ask their experience. Are they able to look at your analytics and help guide you and help with a game plan? So there is strategy involved that comes, I think, with time on the platform and education. And then, like, I would consider myself more of the advanced Pinterest strategist, where I look at the whole funnel. And
looking at everything.
I'm looking at all the pieces in the puzzle versus just, focusing on just driving traffic to your website. So it kind of depends where you are in your business, your budget, what do you need? Because there are people that are very savvy in Pinterest, but they just don't have time to do the pinning. So, as a business owner, it's like, what do you need at that time? Is it just filling a queue, or is it like you don't know much and you really need help with the strategy? So that would be my advice when you're researching who to hire for your team.
Makes a lot of sense. So I want to thank you so much, because I learned a lot. I learned a lot today about Pinterest. And as I keep kind of saying in my videos over and over, as a business owner, you stay in your zone of genius. And if you're thinking about Pinterest, hire somebody. And here's this perfect person. She clearly explained to you everything is, what is your budget and what are you looking for? So that's my whole thing, is stay in your zone of genius. You're the business owner. If you're coaching somebody, coach somebody. But don't try to coach and pin, because you're not going to get the results you want.
Unless you like it. I mean, I'm not saying unless you like it and have time. And
Yes.
I mean, really,
Yes. Time is important.
time is money, as they
Yes,
say. And
exactly.
so,
But if you have the time to focus on your business, you can hire somebody to help you do it, because I think that's important. Because you don't want to put something about coaching and then you end up in the pancake section, because I've seen that before. I'm going through Maya's pins. I'm like, where did that come from? Somebody messed up.
Well, sometimes there's sponsored posts, and you have to kind of look a little closer. I'm like, well, why on earth is something like that popping up? So that's the genius of promoted pins, right? Because
Exactly.
you're looking at one thing and something else popping up. So
Completely opposite of what you're looking at.
but it might be of interest. It'd be like, okay, you meet the demographic, and oh yeah, let me check that out, and then jump down that rabbit hole.
Exactly. See, Pinterest is a hole. You get stuck in there. So I want to thank you so much, Carrie, for joining me, agreeing to be a part of the summit. I learned so much today. So much.
Wonderful, wonderful.
All right.
Thank
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thanks.